So the idea is to talk a little about our advances of the ESG schedule. I'd like to thank the presence of everyone here, the authorities, the class entity representatives, the communities, the Ministry of Work, of Labor, the class entity representatives, our Secretary of Environment, and all the authorities present here, and also of the people who are watching us online on the streaming on YouTube. And also to mention that Frasli is an open company and it's part of all the condom companies also with our ESG ambitions. ESG at Randon is linked to our strategic planning. So as we said, the ESG stands for environment, social, and governance. Is a work that Randon has been doing, looking all at all the stakeholders, from the supplier until the community, going through all the workmates, our shareholders, and most of all our client, within our visions to look these global trends, but also the local needs that the companies have of being able to reinforce the purpose of connecting people and wealth generating prosperity. And that reinforces our principles, which are the sustained basis from the values. My father, Raul Randon, my uncle, they started in 1949. That brought us here, but also with a very clear purpose of serving well our clients, reinforcing our role with the community, society. And pandemic has speed up this need for the companies, meaning that the companies who don't have a clear purpose, who don't grow in a sustainable way, meeting these needs of the environment, undoubtedly they will face difficulties, they will struggle to grow in a sustainable way. And mainly looking for the community support, also the public sector and the customer supports as well. Using my hand to a lot of things here. When our ESG ambition came through, we were talking about the pillars, the 5 pillars we have: innovation, sustainability, prosperity for everyone. And this topic we look as an opportunity, we look as an investment we are presenting, and Randon has been doing in its history, as an opportunity of growth, of development. And we have always worked with people on the way of challenging them, since the leadership's changing their mindsets, but also working in a more cooperative way, which is the example of the Alex Institute, such as also mentioning Conexo, the space we are here, and it's a way of contributing to the community. And when talking about our 16,000 employees, they are our 16,000 protagonists. These people today, they hold the informations, the leaderships, they have provided all the supports, they reinforce to enable them to help us with our purpose, to connect people, and mainly to continue our planning, serving our clients properly, the society, and all who are working for a better world. When we talk about the highlights of the journey, we know it's not a way of one day only. We are talking about our ESG ambition, but we're talking about 73 years of Randon. The governance itself started very strong on the 70s, when Randon became an open capital company, public company, and we learned that the company wasn't alone, that we had partners, shareholders who contribute. but it's an evolution that contributes more and more when we look to our future, how Randon companies will be in 5, 10, 20 years' time, not only in environment, but also social and governance as well. And here I'd like to stand out, since 2001, in the last 20 years, the main moves the company has done, the main actions working with opportunity, with sustainable growth, and contributing so the company can, it can be a difference on competitiveness. When we look all this governance vision, this is what we place here. It's a constant walk, and we have always been in touch with the customers, with the community, to see what can be done, mainly looking to the future. When we look our highlights of our ESG journey, we want to talk more about the future, because the future is charging us. We are talking about CO2 credits, which is a new opportunity, renewable energies, and when we challenge our team, also with our Sergio Carvalho, our CEO, who will come further in to present the Green Route Rota Verde program, undoubtedly that reinforced the need of the company to place very bold goals, tangible but bold. And that commitment came with the council to keep on investing on goals that will help the company to reduce the serious accidents by zero, also amplify the net income generated by new products, and double the female leaders in the next 5 years, and also reducing to zero the waste disposal in industrial landfills and the discharge of effluents. And in 2030, our most ambitious goal, it seems a long time, but it isn't. Our idea today is to reinforce this 2030 idea. So we want to reduce by 40% the emissions of the greenhouse gas effects, because this is our role. We can't just wait the public sectors or other third parties do that, because each one of the companies is responsible, and that's why we have stand that out, and we have been doing that constantly. Florescer, the blooming program, that program was in the vein of our founder of Randon. He always saw opportunities in developing the young generations. And today we still have that program going with the Instituto Elisabetta Randon, with Maureen. Maureen helps carrying on that. The project that is much bigger today, and we believe the education. We always say that transforming our city, our state, our country with education, we believe that. And Randon has been doing that for like 20 years, and I reinforce that these things, like ESG, they are things that they are already in our principles and our values. What we're doing in the last year, since last year, is to disclose this, to show these ambitions in a strong way, so the leaderships can pursue these goals. And we are counting on the support of public and private sectors with our clients, our communities, our suppliers, in order to reach these goals. And we want to mention once again the social role of the private sector, and we're very proud that part of this almost 16,000 kids and teenagers who were served by the program, they come back to working in the company or even in other companies in our region. So for us today, we are today educating over 1,000 teenagers with other people, other companies together, and the Instituto Elisabetta Randon provides the support, the materials, and this is a good number of young people who are well served on their counter-shifting school. And we know that if we want to change the world, it has to be through qualification, through education in teenagers. And I will share with you now a quick video on Instituto Elisabetta Randon, so you can know what it is, because it's our social branch, is our social way of connecting all of our stakeholders. We, at Instituto Elisabetta Randon, promote actions of education, culture, social assistance, safety in traffic to transform, to change lives. We support the safety in traffic through education of drivers and pedestrians. We work for a mobility in which everyone can arrive safe at home. We promote education as an agent of transformation. We invest today and tomorrow of kids in situation of social vulnerability with pedagogical activities, also cultural, sports, and education for life. We prepare teenagers for the world of work with a qualification that is human and technical. We support the future with more opportunities. We stimulate the volunteer force of the workers in Randon in actions at the community. We respect our legacy. We have been preserving the memory and the history of Randon companies and also the load transportation in Brazil. We support the good ideas of transformation. We have been assisting projects that promote culture, education, sport, and social assistance. We are Elisabetta Randon Institute, generating prosperity for everyone.
Olá, boa tarde a todos.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here once again to talk about such an important topic. Thank you so much for being here, for your presence. I'd like to start talking about this date. You are looking at the screen, July 28th. And that date is the date, it's in 30 days, in which humankind will have used all the natural resources our planet can produce, can use in the period of a year. And that means that after July 28th, we will be using the overdraft, so to speak, of the natural resources, which are so important for our survival. All these calculations, they have been done by an international entity, the Global Footprint Network, based on data on the consumption over the demand, also based on the efficiency of transformation of products, based on population, and on the ability of regenerating itself, of replacing such natural resources. The slide you see on the screen shows the evolution of this overshoot day, this overload days over the last 50 years. More or less. At the beginning, you can see we started the graph in 1971, where this overshoot day finished, the overshoot day started in December. It took us a year to use the resources of a year, to use all the resources of the planet. But as I see some people may not see all the slides, we're showing a graph where the 50 years, and you can see the evolution of the overshoot today, and what is the day we use 100% of resources, and this year will be in July. So by the end of this year, we will have used the resources equivalent to 1.75 planet Earth. And if you can, please watch the graph. The year of 2020, we had a slightly different behavior, a bit more favorable, beneficial. And this behavior, the date was a bit late, which happened in May. That has a lot to do with the reduction of global activities because of the pandemic. And that trend has to change. That's unacceptable. We can't change this trend, stopping the activities of the planet. All this pandemic, you know very well the level of impact in economies, in families, the poverty that this generated, the starvation, the hunger. We need to find a solution for balance. And for us, we believe for Randon, we created this in 2020. We created, was launched in 2021, Rota Verde, the green route. It's a very wide program because it involves actions, involves goals, covering 3 different verticals, 3 different areas of environment, but all of them, if I can put it this way, to improve our ecological efficiency. We have activities in the sense of fighting the climate changes, also on the sense of improving our operational efficiency, and also activities of improving our transformations, our processes, the circular economy, reverse logistics, to name a few. So this is our answer. As I mentioned, we created in 2020. We started to generate this program. Our intention here, honestly, was to launch the program in the second quarter of 2020. But because of the pandemic, we had other priorities, and we launched the program in 2021. As I said, it's a very wide program because it involves a number of innovations of fronts, and some of them we brought to the public light, and we made our commitments public. But the program itself, it's much wider than our public commitments. And one of the points is the reduction of 40% by 2030 of the greenhouse gas emissions. We also have the expansion of developing products and processes which are more eco-friendly. Also more circular economy activities, reverse logistics, and I'm sure that throughout this presentation we will share with you some of these projects. And besides that, we have the challenge to send these wastes in landfills and also the discharge of effluents by 2025. The effluents, we have been treating them 100% for a long time, but we don't reuse 100%, and that's what we want to do now, use 100% by 2025. Our results in 2021, we had a reduction of 16% of the energy consumption comparing to the year before. Our conversion rate, raw material conversion rate, what we bought as compared to what stays in the end of products, we reached the number of 94%, comparing to 83% of the previous year. We had 77% of the waste recovered and deviated from the discharge. Also, on our logistics, reverse logistics, we got 2 tons of materials back, mainly through Fras-le. friction materials around 1 ton, and disc brakes around 1.1 ton back home. We brought back home to be reprocessed, melted, and use them in our casting of new products. And we have reused 50% of our treated water. In 2021, we invested around 14 million reals. This investment is 5 millions more than comparing to 2020, and the main uses of these resources were on the treating and transportation of wastes, the treatment of emissions, of effluents, other analysis in environmental processes. Our programs for the 40% reduction of the greenhouse gas effects is very complex. The renovation, renewable energy is a very important part of our program, and to talk about this program, we have our superintendent director of Fras-le, of the vertical Fras-le and movement control of Fras-le, who is also our corporate leader for health, safety and the environment. Anderson Pontalti will talk more about this topic. Thank you.
Muito boa tarde a todos.
Good afternoon, everybody. Very pleased to be here with you this afternoon. Thank you so much for the ones who are here in person, for the ones who are watching us online. Thank you for your time to understand our ESG route, the green route, as Sergio said. My mission today here is to talk a bit more about more specific projects, but mainly our commitment of reducing in 40% the greenhouse gas effects by 2030. I have 3 elements here in my hand. I need to figure that out. So in order to fight these climate changes, as citizens, we need to give back to the world what the world gives us, which is a good place to live. From the world, we extract our food, our life. We live as a community in this planet, and it's only right to try our best to give back to the planet what the planet gives us. More specifically about Randon, our greenhouse gas emission sources are divided in 4. The first are the stationary equipment, the ovens, the presses, which use the energy to run. The second most important, this is the second most important. The most relevant is the electric power used in all of our operations. And here we aim to get energy as clean as possible, and the fuels of industrial vehicles, so we can move our parts within our operations. The other sources, not mentioned here, they are in less number, but also of good impact, big impact. We have a clear strategy of reducing 18 tons of emissions by 2030. And we have already done a complete inventory of the generation of the emission, and we understand the electrification has a very important role. Why electrification? Because is in the sense that we don't have forklifts anymore. We don't have movement with combustion anymore. In the photovoltaic power plants, I will talk a lot further in a very we're very proud to launch 2 projects this year. We want to have more and more energies being photovoltaic or eolic or even PCH by but our idea is to change this energy consumption to a cleaner source. And we need to talk about the emissions of GLP, of natural gases, used mainly in our ovens, in our greenhouses, and any other segments that we have. The use of diesel is used in some operations, and we want to make a reduction, a significant reduction. And we're talking 18 tons of CO2 gas, which will not be emitted until 2030. That's our ambition. And how can we get there? 50% of this energy comes from new sources, renewable sources. Some of them are ongoing. We need to get certified, and other require investments. Reduction of 30% of the natural gas consumption used in our processes. We need to find other alternatives, or less need for consumption of the gas itself, or alternatives that can get this warmth in renewable sources of energy. Reduction of 65% on the consumption of diesel. We have some generators running by diesel in specific units. We have diesel on our transportation vehicles within the company, and the same way the GNV and GLP, which are very used on the greenhouses and moving the forklifts. And here we have to talk about replacing the equipments which use renewable energies, which give us bigger greenhouse effect in our planet. Now, specifically about this, we are very proud to say that, and I need to congratulate everyone involved in this process, because in 2022 we will be they will be operating 2 power plants inside Randon. The first one is the photovoltaic power plant, which will be operating in our training center. 100% of the energy used by the unity will be sourced by solar energy, and the exceeding energy, this exceeding energy will be able to be used in implements in the expedition area. We're talking about 1.5 hectares of solar panels spread, investing 7.2 million reals, generating almost 2,000 megawatts per year in this unit, and this will be in production by the end of this year. In December it will be concluded, will be finished, and January every month starts with a perfect new operation, helping us there. There's a very relevant strategic factor that many of you have been seeing our capital inputs. Our products are being developed on the way of making our world green, reducing CO2, like the electrical axis, lighter products, which obviously demand a lower consumption, electrical consumption for movement, for transportation, and we are preparing the company for electrification. And because the training center is our main center of innovation and competence on developing electrified projects, for us it's very rewarding to be able to connect that on the training center itself, because it generates the green products, making green products in the future. So it's nice that we have this strategic link there that is very clear. But we don't stop there. Our teams are so engaged that we went further. We will not buy the solution of photovoltaic panels. We know they are available. We went to learn how to develop competences, to learn on the value, so we can speed up. We can connect more units with this technology, and also replicate this model in our clients, in our suppliers, or other interested companies. We want to create a competence for installing photovoltaic panels on the units. This is our intra-entrepreneurship. We learn with what we do. We don't want to just buy. We want to go a bit further. And our second company listed here, Fras-le has an operation, a plant in China, and 4 years ago we expanded this plant, and we are covering the roofs with photovoltaic plates generating energy. 20% of the energy used in that plant will be sourced by these plates. We have 5 buildings in that operation. They will all be fed, or they will all be sourced by that. Here we're talking about 1 hectare of installed area with the generation of 1,200 megawatts per year. And here we also have very relevant strategic points. China has extreme temperatures, much cold, much heat, and the energy consumption there is very high, and the energy is coal-based, and the pollution rates are so high at some points that the companies they have to reduce or even close their operations. And if you have these investments in the companies, you are the last one in line to stop, which assures us to keep on working even with the pollution levels, the pollution rates being high. And I'm happy to announce here, to call here Luciana, who will cover the other projects. Luciana is responsible for health, safety, environment. Thank you, and I wish you all a good event. Good afternoon, everybody. I will be talking now some ESG projects, the Zero Challenge. I will be detailing a little now which projects we will be doing in order to reach as soon as possible within the goals, our public commitment. The first of them is the Zero Challenge. The first of the Zero Challenges is to reduce the discharge of treated effluents to 0 by 2025, and that means we want to place all of our wastes as raw material entering in the processes, being raw materials for other processes. And then we have some information which are very relevant. Today, 100% of our metal scrap generated within the companies is already sent for recycling processes. And just to remember, this is our biggest volume of waste within Randon companies. And more than that, 80% of this metal scrap is recycled internally. We managed to do our circular economy inside the company, placing these wastes within our casts. But also inside the casts, we have a very big challenge, because we have the cast sand, that today is the biggest amount of waste. We need to find destinations and alternatives of processes in which this sand is raw material. In 2021, we signed a contract. We have the Eco Sand project. We signed a contract with Fagundes Group, because we dedicated a lot testing, analyzing, and looking for alternatives. And now we are on a bidding process for the destination of the sand. The second commitment is to reduce by 0 the discharge of effluents, which means reusing 100% of them. We treat 100% of our effluents, and what we do is to circulate 50% of our volume in our internal operations, basically to wash tools, wash parts, wash gas parts, cooling. Some areas we have designed and we have in operation, and we want to keep going. We want to continue and reach the 100% treated effluents. Also, we have two big fronts when we talk about the hydric resources, the effluents, and also using the rainwater collection, on the sense that sometimes we don't need the drinkable water for these operations, and 100% are our treated effluents. And within these alternatives, we have been searching and working to allow 100% of reuse. We are talking about technology, the reverse technology that gives a better quality in the sense of reuse in our industrial process. So for more noble things within our industrial process. Besides, we have some adaptations of piping systems which will enable us to reuse. Important information I want to share today. We have 5 big units of treatment, each one of them on a different site. Today we are in the Interlagos site, which serves a number of companies, and that is replicated in other areas in which we have industrial plants, industrial sites of Randon. To reduce serious accidents by zero is a commitment we consider very relevant, because we're talking about preserving health, physical integrity of our people. And this is a commitment, a public commitment we have been following within our ESG ambition, and we have placed some strategies so we can fulfill this commitment. We have been working with many initiatives, as I share here. Some of them were launched in 2018, and some alternatives of projects we are placing here in order to meet these goals and to be constantly meeting these goals. The culture of safety, we have 5 attitudes of safety, and we have our motto, an attitude can change a life, and there we work the concept that we all have a commitment regarding this issue. We are all responsible for the safety of all of our people, and we want that to be spread inside the companies in a very consistent way. We call that active care. This was launched in 2018, and since then it has been happening with very continuous, interesting actions to work on this behavior area. We have also created a mapping and classification of the critical risks, and we call them critical risks, adopting international methodologies, the HRM, which makes this definition of severity criteria, exposition, probability, frequency, number of people, a number of criteria in which we can classify the risks and find a roadmap in which we can prioritize our investments and projects for the elimination or minimization of these risks. So here we have this methodology being used, applied to all of our units, and we can manage to make a big driver inside the company so actions can be taken as fast as possible. And within this line of action, decision making, only last year we invested 40 million on the elimination of critical risks. This is very relevant. Some of them are listed here, some of the projects, the process automation, some adaptations of machines and equipments, the elimination of industrial vehicles with internal circulation. Some of the projects we have allocated as investments, and I'd like to mention also the computational view on risk control, also the using autonomous vehicles in while moving inside the company, projects of high consistency for this commitment to be fulfilled fully. And now you will see a video that our Director of Technology and Innovation, he couldn't be here today. He's working on a business trip, César Ferreira. You will be watching his contribution and his message regarding the ESG. Thank you very much.
Olá, boa tarde. Meu nome é César Augusto Ferreira.
Good afternoon. I'm César Ferreira, Director of Innovation and Technology of Product. First of all, sorry for not being able to be with you today. I'm on a business trip and I couldn't make this happen. I have been invited to bring you some details on how Randon has boosted the net profits. Today I'm inside RTS, which is designed to develop automation solutions for Randon. We have acquired a sister company, a familiar company. We have been working in a very with a good synergy in order to provide automation solutions for Randon. It's very prepared to serve the market, but is a company who will keep on serving better the clients, which are the market companies that use this technology, these competences we have inside Randon. Speaking about new products, established groups, vocational groups to develop, to speed up the automation process, but I haven't mentioned the part of this puzzle, which is redesigning Hercílio Randon Institute. Since last year became a Science and Technology Institute. In this structure today, we have over 30 professionals, highly qualified. We're talking about people with masters, with PhDs, who have been researching in a number of different areas, but very focused on mobility, vehicle electrification, loaded electronics, and new materials. And one of the things that happened here was the ESG solution, in which we recover energy when we load this energy, can bring over 20% of the fuel reduction of the mechanical horsepower, meaning that it has a very important impact of the business on the cost of the operation, also with a result, important result on the CO2 emissions done by this vehicle. We are burning 20% less diesel. And this, together with Fras-le, used intelligent materials. And why we call them intelligent materials? Because they are not simple uses of fibers. It's a different way of thinking these components, using building concepts, innovative for engineering. These solutions, they have been so innovative that they allowed Fras-le to create a new business innovation called Fras-le Smart Composites. And I can tell you today there are some tens or even hundreds of millions of thousands of components in our trailers, semi-trailers, and they will provide solutions created with this target, reduce the weight and increase the effectiveness. Because these solutions that Fras-le have been creating using smart composed materials, they aim to reduce the weight of these components, and this is what has been found out. All these researches, these investments in researches of new materials done through VHR, they also brought new innovations. This group has recently developed a methodology patented globally of niobium nanoparticles, and that solution allows us to establish a production process of nanoparticles of niobium. And the relevance of that discovery is so big that it has incentivized the organization to create a new company, NIONE. which today produce in high scale nanoparticles of niobium, which can be used for transforming a number of materials, from surfaces such as sprays and varnishes with properties reducing the corrosion of parts in which they are applied, to transformations of materials such as resins, metal alloys, cosmetics, the pharmaceutical industry. The number of applications is very big. These particles, they are so small, they can change the molecule chain of structures, and that allows us to find very different solutions. This is another thing we know we will transform a lot the portfolio of products from Randon. Please, you can wait for news because they are coming soon. In a general overview, I want to show you in a clear way how things are done at Randon, but nothing better than numbers, and I would like to highlight some values that are very important for you to understand how the innovation is treated inside Randon. We have invested around 95 million reais in processes of development. 95 million is a very relevant value. 144 new products with almost 50 patents requested, that only in 2021. This number only reinforces what we presented of how innovation of products is important for Randon. I'm not talking just about disruptive innovation, but the incremented. They are always based in some pillars: increasing of efficiency, reduction of the environmental impact with less emissions of the greenhouse gases, and also very aligned with our ESG policies. And this I will close my participation, and I would like to thank you for your participation. Good afternoon. I would like to bring our commitment on sustainability with focus on diversity, in which we comply on duplicate the number of women in leadership positions by 2025. I'd like to highlight here some actions we have been doing in the last few years in focus on education and awareness for this topic within our groups in Randon. We had our plural journey, which were courses, web seminars targeted to the qualification of our leaderships. 100% of our leaderships were aware on that topic. Also the diversity tour, in which talks, internal conversations which were mediated by our diversity group in order to foster reflections on diversity, the perception of diversity by people on the routines of Randon. We have a number of actions related to communication and awareness. In the year of 2021, we have 1,700 people watching that, in which we take celebration dates or schedules of fights for rights aimed to minority groups, in which we can launch communication to our workers, to our employees about these actions. We have worked some instruments for promotion of equity. So in 2021, we updated the code, we reviewed and updated the code of ethical conduct. And in this moment, we committed and reinforced our role regarding diversity and inclusion, and bringing that role to all of our employees to reinforce the role of everyone in that journey. In which we all have our part of responsibility to move on. We are constantly reviewing, updating our processes of communication, to work the journeys, targeted to immigrants, or other ways to make the governance of diversity. This year, we will launch our committees and our affinity groups so we can talk about diversity with looking at the differences we have inside the company, including 5 groups: gender, ethnic, racial, LGBTQA+, people with disabilities, and generations. In the gender equity front, we have launched the Female Mentoring Program. This program wants to boost, to speed up the development on the competences and in the career for the female leaders, aiming to generate a better representativeness on the leadership positions of Randon, which meets our commitment of increasing leadership positions. In the first cycle, we had 26 women generating this sharing of experiences, generating the strategic views for our companies in order to get new positions. In this cycle happening right now, we are working with 14 pairs, and the idea is to expand this cycle to have more women developed in our company. I would like to invite Sergio and Daniel to the stage again.
Pessoal, então, primeiro, mais uma vez agradecer a presença de
So,
todos.
once again, thank you for being here. Thank you, our partners, for presenting. So many actions Randon has been doing on the ESG ambition, which has contributed for new opportunities, new business, and even the recognition, Sergio. Last week, Sergio was in São Paulo receiving an award for Randon Company, the best companies of ESG carried out by Exame magazine, and Randon with WEG, other such important companies was recognized. But for the first year of our ambition, many recognitions and the engagement of our leaderships here. It's an engagement that comes not just coming from Daniel, but from Sergio, but for all leaderships. And this is the difference that makes things happen. When you see ESG as an ambition, as a purpose of Randon, it's much easier the execution and the commitment of people who start to see opportunities. Anderson brought this, also the other the other speakers, Luciana, Tamis. The photovoltaic power plants, they generate new business, new opportunities, new jobs, more taxes, more added value to our community, which is very important. It's very clear to reach this goal. Besides the commitment, we can reach the number of 50% of our energies being renewed. We also need money, we need capital. What we want to share with you today is that Randon is committed until 2030. We want to invest a big number to reach our mission to reduce 40% of the greenhouse effect emissions. And we will invest 100 million reals by 2030 in order to reach these goals and who knows, even overcome all these ambitions and all these goals. We want to be committed. We want to have a long-term view, because we know it will add value to the company, to the community, to the partners and all the clients. 100 million reals of investments, so only in renewable energies, only just to remember what Daniel said, Anderson said, we have a commitment for reducing by 40% the greenhouse gas emissions, reducing 18 tons of CO2. And to reach that number, 50% of that will come through the renewable energies, which are associated to these 100 million reals of investments. We will invest more than that because we need to look at the other 50% as well. As Anderson mentioned, our target, our goal to reduce the consumption of gas used in our companies, of diesel, of moving equipments, all that will demand investments, additional investments. So these 100 million, they are just associated to the 50% of energy, renewable energy. And since we're here, Daniel and I, we would like to show you the emission of our sustainability report, both from Randon and Fras-le. These reports, they are very specific, they are transparent, they have details on the main programs associated on the 5 challenges we have made public, and what we would like to do is to show a small video showing these sustainability reports with the participation of people who are highly committed to this event. And after these videos, Daniel and I will also say goodbye. We will be finishing our meeting today. So please, the video, and thank you.
Olá! Estamos lançando o relatório de sustentabilidade das empresas Randon referente ao ano de 2021. É com prazer que apresentamos os principais aspectos ambientais, sociais, econômicos e de governança para nossos stakeholders. O nosso relatório segue as normas do GRI e do Relato Integrado e, pela primeira vez, adota também as diretrizes setoriais do SASB e passa por uma asseguração independente, ampliando ainda mais a qualidade e transparência de nossas informações. Nossa ambição ESG, lançada em 2021, tem destaque no relatório. Nós mostramos os avanços e compromissos de nossa estratégia de sustentabilidade e como geramos valor em um ano de resultados históricos.
Tivemos avanços importantes em inovação. Foram mais de 94 milhões de reais investidos nessa área. Finalizamos 144 projetos e registramos 47 patentes. Esses números mostrados no nosso relatório são materializados em diversas conquistas. O lançamento da Fras-le Smart Composites, a descoberta de um método inédito para a produção de nanopartículas de nióbio e o lançamento do Randon Concept Trailer, são apenas alguns deles. Além disso, investimos em mais 4 startups por meio da Randon Ventures. Outros destaques mostrados no nosso relatório são a preparação do Centro Tecnológico Randon para a era da eletromobilidade e a transformação do Instituto Hercílio Randon em um Instituto de Ciência e Tecnologia privado.
Saúde, segurança e meio ambiente também tem destaque. Apoiamos nossos colaboradores e comunidade durante a pandemia com mais de 1.500 doses de vacinas aplicadas nos postos de imunização instaladas nas nossas unidades. Fizemos investimentos importantes em segurança e seguimos promovendo uma cultura de prevenção e excelência. Só em 2021 foram 40 milhões investidos para a eliminação dos riscos críticos. Na área ambiental, lançamos o programa Rota Verde, compromisso que estabelece as principais ações e metas a serem desenvolvidas, com destaque ao nosso compromisso na redução de emissão dos gases de efeito estufa. Para isso, investimos 13 milhões e 600 mil reais em gestão ambiental. Aumentamos a nossa taxa de conversão de matéria-prima para 94%. Em 2021, 77% dos resíduos gerados na operação foram desviados de descarte por operações de recuperação, com 67% deles reciclados.
Em 2021, seguimos potencializando a geração de valor para as pessoas, com apoio ao desenvolvimento dos colaboradores, ambiente diverso e inclusivo, estímulo ao desenvolvimento de práticas sustentáveis em nossos fornecedores e inclusão socioeconômica nas comunidades. Fechamos 2021 com mais de 15.400 colaboradores, trabalhando em uma jornada de diversidade. lançamos o programa de mentoria feminina para alavancar o desenvolvimento da carreira. Passo importante no nosso compromisso de duplicar o número de mulheres em cargos de liderança. Também investimos mais de 4 milhões de reais em ações sociais no Instituto Elisabetta Randon, em ações que só no ano passado beneficiaram mais de 26 mil pessoas. Essas ações só reforçam o nosso propósito de conectar pessoas e riquezas, gerando prosperidade. E se você quiser ter mais detalhes sobre nossas ações de sustentabilidade, é só acessar nosso relatório completo no site randon.com.br e descobrir como estamos juntos, inovando por um futuro melhor.
Olá! É com prazer que estamos lançando o relatório de sustentabilidade da Fras-le de 2021. O nosso relatório, que já seguia as diretrizes GRI Standard e do relato integrado na última edição, agora conta com diretrizes setoriais do SASB e a asseguração independente. Nele, compartilhamos de forma transparente os avanços da nossa ambição ESG, estratégia corporativa que estabeleceu pilares e compromissos públicos de sustentabilidade, além de resultados, indicadores e iniciativas relevantes para continuar gerando valor aos nossos colaboradores, clientes, fornecedores, investidores e comunidade.
O relatório de sustentabilidade da Fras-le mostra nossos avanços em inovação e tecnologia e o nosso compromisso em construir uma mobilidade sustentável. Em 2021, lançamos a Fras-le Smart Composites, nova linha de produtos em materiais compósitos com itens até 65% mais leves. E a Naiwan, empresa de nanotecnologia que anunciou seu primeiro produto com nanopartículas de nióbio. Além disso, o relatório destaca o novo posicionamento do Centro Tecnológico Randon e como ele está preparado para as inovações do futuro da mobilidade. Tudo isso nos levou a alcançar a marca de mais de 410 milhões de reais em receita líquida a partir de produtos lançados nos últimos 5 anos.
Aqui na Fras-le, nosso compromisso com o meio ambiente é prioridade. Em 2021, em parceria com o Eu Reciclo, compensamos cerca de 22% do total de embalagens geradas pelos nossos produtos. Nosso programa de logística reversa recuperou mais de 2.100 toneladas de pastilhas e discos de freio. Somente no ano passado, investimos 6 milhões e 400 mil reais em iniciativas de gestão ambiental e reforçamos o nosso compromisso com o lançamento do Rota Verde. Também investimos mais de 16 milhões de reais em saúde e segurança e promovemos a 3ª edição do Dia S, um evento que busca reforçar a cultura do cuidado. Ainda abrimos nossas portas para ajudar no combate à Covid-19, com quase 1.500 pessoas recebendo a primeira ou a segunda dose da vacina por aqui.
Todos esses avanços e investimentos mostrados no nosso relatório têm um foco principal: as pessoas. Temos mais de 5.000 colaboradores em nossas unidades no Brasil e no mundo, e estamos trabalhando em uma jornada de transformação e diversidade. O Movimento AR, por exemplo, conta com 80 agentes de transformação para facilitar a conexão com ecossistemas de inovação. Na nossa jornada de diversidade, trabalhamos para estimular uma cultura de inclusão, equidade e respeito nas questões de gênero, étnico-racial, orientação sexual, geracional e pessoas com deficiência. Também trabalhamos na geração de valor com os nossos clientes, fornecedores e com a comunidade. Somente no Instituto Elisabetta Randon foram alocados mais de 580 mil reais em ações sociais. Se você quiser saber mais sobre nossos avanços em sustentabilidade, está convidado a acessar o nosso relatório completo. Acesse ri.frasle.com e veja como estamos fazendo a nossa parte para manter a sua vida em movimento.